Hey guys, hope you're well. I'm just going to double check that we are in. Just jump onto YouTube real quickly, just make sure that everybody's in attendance. Just please bear with me. Yep, we are good to go. Okay, what I might do is just clean up a few files here. Okay, so I can see we've got a few people in today. So last week we focused on what to do prior an interview, and I've had some positive feedback from that session, which is good. So today we're going to be looking at more a case of what to do during an interview. Now, obviously, things have changed a fair bit since the last time we, well, let's just say in the market in general, we've got a number of differences when speaking to clients, in the sense that most of interviews at the moment are happening over Zoom. I have been really busy of late representing some candidates in the allied health space, along with the community services sector with my work with Evolved Talent, and yeah, candidates are definitely still doing the face-to-face. That still is a thing, but I think the majority of this session was really thought out when you know, face-to-face was more of the norm, I should say. So there'll be a few things in this meeting, in this session, that we might need to evolve slightly. But let's have a talk about an interview. So we've done the preparation, we've gone through, we've done our elevator pitch, if you like, and we're familiar with what we're trying to achieve. We're familiar with the message that we're trying to paint. We're familiar with the business. We know examples of where we've been able to demonstrate the skills required on the role description. And you know, we should be pretty clear going into this if we've done our interview preparation correctly, which is obviously in the last session we went through. So during the interview, body language is pretty important, and it's something that people don't really give much thought to. But if I remember back to when I was interviewing for one of my first recruitment positions, I had this absolutely drilled into me, and I'd never really given it much thought before. I'd never really interviewed much before, but the interviewer that represented me was really good, actually. She gave me so much advice on what to do in that preparation side of things. But the main thing that stuck with me was, she said, don't slouch in your chair, don't kind of, you know, do one of these type of thing. Try to be upright all the time, and lots of eye contact. Again, I'm a bit of a sloucher, so I'm probably the worst example ever, but you know, research has shown that first impressions based upon the following. So 7% of first impressions, you know, 38% is the tone of the voice, and 55% of body language. So body language is big. You know, it's 55% according to science, and it's probably something that we don't really give much thought to, because if you think about it, if somebody's invited you in for an interview, then the chances of them wanting you to be successful are quite high. Don't ever think that you're going into an interview for somebody to want to see you fail and make your life miserable. That's really not what it is. You know, you're there because you've been shortlisted, because your resume or your previous experience matches up with what they're looking for. So I think if you can have that kind of mentality going into an interview, then you're probably going to perform a bit better, because you're going to be that bit more positive and a bit more open to the ideas and questions that you're asked. Also, if you've done your preparation, you should be a lot more confident anyway. But looking at the body language. Well, the first thing that we can do is your handshake. Well, if you're left-handed, the chances are the person that you're interviewing is likely to be right-handed. So don't be afraid to lead with the right hand and do the handshake if handshakes are a thing. I don't know how long these videos will stay up for, but in the current times, I've gone and met a few clients recently, and I said, shall we, and just put my elbow out like this, and that's fine, that's acceptable, and you touch elbows, and that's your way of saying, look, usually I would give you a handshake, and but with the pandemic and everything, we're not going to do that today. I think eye contact is key, making sure that you engage with the person. When somebody's speaking, make sure that you are taking an interest with your eyes. So the eye contact is important. So don't ever think that there isn't. A lot of the time, you will meet someone at a certain destination. It could be in the reception area, it could be whatever, and then you walk to the place where you're going to get interviewed. In that regard, I would, if you are walking, try and walk with a brisk and kind of snappy nature. Now, it sounds preposterous that would even matter, but if you're really slow and laboured and chilled out, and it's probably not going to give you the best impression, but it also might go against you in the sense that you could look like your demeanour isn't a confident one. Again, this is all stuff that people will pick up on during the prior part to an interview. So if I think back to the majority of the client meetings I've had especially on client site, you go in there, you usually give your name to reception, they call through, the person comes down, you do the handshake or the elbow, then you've got to walk, however long the meeting rooms are. Some of these offices are huge. You're going up lifts, you're going all over the building before you go to the place where you're supposed to meet. So during that time, it's a great opportunity for you to build a little bit of rapport with your interviewer. So it's worth having to think about what are you going to say. So it's a nice office you've got here, the usuals, that kind of small talk, but maybe this is the time where you would say, if you've done your right preparation, you might have seen that the person that's interviewing you might be familiar with their background, you might be familiar with some of their interests, so you might say, apologies if I'm coming along like I'm stalking. I was doing my research, I had a look at your LinkedIn page, I noticed that you were interested in skiing or whatever that interest might be. Have you been recently? Any plans, or how's this affecting you? Whatever it is, try and find a common subject, and they might say, oh no, we haven't been doing much of that recently. Oh, okay, so have you a family? Or just try and build that rapport, because you'd be amazed what a difference just a little bit of small talk from the reception to the actual interviewing room will make. It's actually quite surprising, and something that nobody really gives too much of a thought about. The other thing is, when I'm in that scenario, or on the other side when I'm interviewing other people, if people don't smile and come across as positive, that's a mark down straight away. So even if you're in an interview situation where you're going in and you literally go straight into the room, there's none of that kind of small talk, we've got to go from reception or whatever it might be, keep smiling constantly, keep your eyes on the interviewer, and be as truthful as you can be. Hold a firm posture, so like I was saying, the upright posture. Try not to cross your arms like this, or with your legs. It can come across like you're not being truthful. Again, all this stuff I don't even think about. But if you do the research, all this stacks up, and it has been proven that these types of things can work, especially in negotiations. But anyway, don't put your file or laptop. Just keep it in front of you. If you make the odd note when required, but don't be putting your laptop up, getting your files, making all this kind of disruption. You've got to appreciate that the person that's interviewing you has given you their time. It's the one thing in life that they'll never get back. They only live for so long and then they die, right? So time is really important, and you need to start having the mindset that it's really precious. So if they're giving you your time, make sure you're appreciating that and give them your full focus. Don't be looking at your notes and stuff like that. Don't fidget with your hands, bite your nails, pick scabs. I've heard all kinds of awful things. Try and be mindful again that this is a professional situation. You really want to make sure that you are giving them your full attention. So fidgeting and stuff just makes it look like you've got something to hide, or you're really nervous about something. The main advice we can give is for you to be yourself. You never want to give the person the wrong impression of you. So what I mean by that is, I've interviewed people, say this very lightly, but mainly for sales positions, if I'm honest. When I'm interviewing, I interview for all different types of roles, don't get me wrong, but when I interview sales staff, often the person that's being interviewed will give the impression like they just live and breathe sales. That's all they want to do is make the sale, and they kind of stop being themselves, because I can understand the personality and who they are, because we've had the small talk usually, or I know someone who knows them, or we've had a chat on the phone, or, I got a pretty good read on them, else I wouldn't have invited them in. And then often when we start talking about figures, performances, previous experience, that sort of thing, they start painting this picture that they are some kind of a, I don't know whether you're familiar with the show Dragon's Den, but like somebody who's a real powerful entrepreneur, or somebody who's been super successful, and then they start saying stuff that I question. I just think, I don't think they're being very truthful. It's a really big put off. A lot of the time, I often think, well, if they're going to be like that in the interview, then how can I trust them? How can I give them autonomy? So what I mean by autonomy is let them work at their own pace. Let them basically run their own race slightly, but just kind of give them boundaries, I suppose, to work in. When people aren't themselves, you just think to yourself, I'm not sure about this person, I'm not sure, and then it kind of leads your questions into more of a negative path, which is what you want to try and avoid. So I really like it when people are honest, and people, if I ask them a question, that they just say, to be completely honest, this is what I have done, and I think the question you're asking, the experience you're asking, I have touched on it. I would love to get more involved with it, but I don't want to tell you just what you want to hear. The actual truth is, this is what I've done. I mean, the other experiences that could be close to this are X, Y, and Z, and you know what I mean? That is a great answer for me, because it just shows humility, and it's really undervalued, because the majority of the time people are interviewing because they're really really involved with their brand. They love their business, they love their job. Usually it's their baby, their business. If for a second they're in an interview, they think somebody's not telling them the truth, that person's not going to be successful. So just be mindful of that. It's a big one. Okay, so going back to kind of figures, most people, I'm not saying everyone, but most people as a general rule make their minds up within the first 7 minutes of an interview. That's out there. That's what the research says. So if you think about it, the first 7 minutes of a meeting, 9 times out of 10, if you're in that scenario where you've got to meet them in reception and walk, up the lift or whatever you got to go, that could be 2 minutes right there. So realistically, if that is true, and it might be a little off, but it's around about there. So 7 minutes, you have 7 minutes to impress. So for those 7 minutes, you want to just have your full attention on the interviewer. You want to take as much interest in them, and you want to have the best manners you can possibly have. So we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Obviously, I'm not using them in that ratio in this scenario, but in an interview situation, listen first. Always make sure that the interviewers finish their point or their question before answering, and literally wait and go, and then answer your question, because I can tell you if the first 7 minutes is that vital, if you're jumping at the end of your seat and you're dead excited and enthusiastic, which is what we say to all of our candidates when we're representing them, be ridiculously enthusiastic. It's a real prerequisite. But if your enthusiasm borders over rudeness and you keep preventing your interviewer to finish their questions because you're jumping in and you're cutting them short, that's probably not going to end very well. So the key to it is making sure that within the whole interview, but more importantly the start of the interview, that your manners are absolutely impeccable. Okay, so dress code. This is changing all of the time. So I remember the start of my career, which wasn't that long ago, 14, 15 years ago. You'd never dream of going into an interview without a shirt, tie, basically a whole suit. Probably in the last 5 years, that's completely changed. And coming from the UK to Australia is completely different. So in the UK, because the climate is a bit colder, more people wear ties, more people wear jackets, more people are formal. You can wear that scarf, you can wear that jacket, it seems a bit more prevalent. So I believe from all of the conversations I'm having with people from over there, that's still quite a corporate environment. In Australia, because it's hot, and you go up to Queensland, which I've spent a lot of time doing business meetings up in Queensland, it's even more casual because of the heat. You go to Singapore, completely different again. They seem more formal there than anywhere, and it's really hot. So it depends on where you are, but in Australia there's a general rule. If you wear some smart trousers, they don't need to be suit trousers. Chinos is okay, unless they're, as long as they're smart and presentable. This is for a male now. If you wear shoes and a shirt, that's totally acceptable. When it comes to ladies, there's a few things that's out there when you research these things, but realistically, a shirt or blouse, skirt, or suit if you want to wear one, ladies. We always say for both women and men, hair should be smart and tidy, and just should look as groomed as you can. If you sport a beard, that's fine. Just make sure that it's tidy, and you shouldn't be, you don't want to play or fiddle with your hair. So just a clean, tidy kind of look is acceptable. When I was doing my research into this, I was quite surprised at some of the some of the things that were out there, but try and keep your accessories to a minimum. You don't want to take anything away from you. And one of the things that keeps coming up is scent. Now, I never thought anything of this. I must admit, I put a bit of scent on before I go to work or whatever. I didn't think anything of it, but apparently there's a lot of people who can be allergic to certain scents. So the advice is, if you don't know the people that you're interviewing with, then you're advised not to use scents, because heaven forbid you go in and you interview with a interviewer and your scent has something in it that they're allergic to, then obviously that's not going to end well, is it? So maybe have a think about that. And then whilst you're, so these are all the kind of key things that you want to have a think about, because not many people do. It's that posture, it's that body language, it's that positivity, it's your manners. These are really kind of the softer skills that are going to get you through. All of the preparation is going to carry you through this half hour, however long it is, period. Because if you think about it, all you're doing in this session is being as polite as possible, listening, taking your time, being thoughtful, being respectful, looking interested, being the part. But then also, you're just relaying the information that you've been studying the last however long. So during the interview, apart from having good manners, being enthusiastic, being happy, being yourself, there isn't that much that you need to think about. Now, there's lots of theories out there that you should be looking at answering questions in a certain way. I've seen people come unstuck trying to do this. So if you're early on in your journey and you're just starting to interview, don't worry about the theory of answering a question. Don't worry about building your answers in a certain way, or trying to isolate the question and stuff like that. That's just going to be too confusing. You're already nervous. You're already in a really strange scenario that you're not used to, in the sense that, do you often sit down and tell somebody how great you are? No, you don't. That's not normal. So I think if you do the preparation correctly, it should carry you through fine during the interview process. But I think the main thing for me during the interview is just to try and focus on listening, because there's nothing worse as an interviewer when you ask a question and the person isn't listening properly, or they're just too nervous and the question doesn't quite go in, and then they give you this long-winded answer that's not the question you asked, and sometimes you think, oh, they've started now, I don't want to cut across and be rude, I don't want to, I'll let them go. And then you could waste lots of time in an interview answering questions that just aren't relevant to what the question is. So don't be afraid to say, okay, can I just clarify, the question you're asking is, you want me to show you where I've either done X or is that correct? Yes. Ah, perfect. Okay. Have a think, take my time. I think the best example I can give you would be bam, and then you go into it. Don't go yep, and try and get all the answers out. They might only have 6 questions. If you go in like a bull in a china shop, then you might not paint yourself in the right manner. But yeah, the main things for me, honestly, if you've done your interview preparation, are manners, being yourself, making sure that you are polite and that you're considered. Make sure because there'll be questions like, what do you know about our business? Well, that's basically saying, have you done your research? So you should nail that, because that's all you've been doing, right? There will be questions that you're asked by most interviewers where they want to put you in not a compromising scenario, but they want to know how you react to a certain thing. So they might say something like along the lines of, have you ever been in a scenario where a customer was irate, or and how did you deal with it? And you're not supposed to say, oh yeah, the other week old Charlie from wherever was a clown. Oh, what an idiot. That's not a good answer. You need to make sure that you take the question on, and you give an example, and you say, look, the customer was clearly unhappy. I could see where they were coming from. I could see it from their perspective. They're in a rush and this happened. And so what I did is I just tried to remain calm. I listened to the customer, I gave them the respect they deserved. I tried to go on a level with them, and then I came up with this solution. Maybe the customer went away that wasn't 100% thrilled, but compared to the way they were when they came in, I feel like it was a good outcome. But what I learned from that was, the next time I see a customer like that, is to take them to one side, try this approach, and then what I did afterwards, after that experience, was I changed X, Y, and Z in a hope, to prevent that from happening again. That is a perfect kind of answer to that type of question. And you will be asked those types of questions. Where do you want to be in so many years, or where do you want your career to go? I'd always say that you're always looking at your next opportunity. This opportunity you would like to think would give you career progression, but you wouldn't want to put yourself in a box. You're really interested in the business, their values, their culture, and you want to prove yourself first and see where it takes you. Your where you want to go might change, but right now you're thinking something along this path, but open to suggestion depending where the opportunities are. Always have a think about it from what does the interviewer want to hear. Are you going to silo yourself into a box so that they think, oh, if we bring this person on, they're not going to be interested in doing this project that we haven't announced yet? Maybe they're not right. But if you say, I'm open to working with the company, and I'm here because I like you guys and your brand, chances are you're going to be a lot more successful. So just to summarize, make sure you do your prep. If you don't do your prep, then good luck, because you're probably going to need it. If you do your prep properly, make sure you're on time, you're not sweating and in a rush and all that sort of stuff, then you should be ready, you should be fine. But body language, don't underestimate body language. Make sure that you are smart and presentable. That doesn't mean you need to be wearing a Savile Row suit. It means that you just need to be clean and smart, basically. But yeah, look, I think with this one, it's an evolving subject. It's going to change, and I feel that when you're doing more video interviewing, this kind of so you'll notice my eyes have been over here and over here, because I've got two screens here, and I'm going through notes whilst I'm just making sure I'm covering everything off with you guys. But if I'm in an interview situation, my eyes are locked on my camera. I don't even look at anything else, because when you are interviewing over Zoom, if you don't stare at that camera, you just look, it's real danger you look disinterested. So it's a bit of a false thing, but yeah, it's something you need to be aware of. But as always, I appreciate everybody's time, and yeah, I'll look forward to next week and gaining your feedback. So have a great day, whatever you've got planned, and we'll speak